Hello, my friends. Jacob Israel's here once again. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for pressing play, for spending a little time with me, for learning something, for what is sure to be. This is going to be a very controversial yet eye-opening program, so I hope that you are all buckled up. Is Lucifer Satan? Is Satan Lucifer? Right? You got people everywhere. You got that new world order. You got the Luciferian Agenda. Are they actually worshiping the devil? That's what you've been told, right? That's what you've been told. Everybody out there, right?
It's like, yeah, of course, and Lucifer was that fallen angel, right? He was God's most beautiful angel, and he led the choir, and he tried to be like God, tried to overthrow God, and God cast him down. He's this devil. Now he's in a cosmic chess match with God over the souls of people.
Right, that's what you've been told. You've been told that story. The problem is, it's not true. It's not true. We're going to talk about what is true. We're going to break this down, and I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from this program because a lot of people have been told something that's not true. Did you know that the word Lucifer, it's Latin, okay? So the word Lucifer, which comes from Isaiah chapter 14, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. That doesn't exist in many of the other translations, right? It does, because it was added later. It's a Latin word, not a Hebrew word. We're going to get into what Lucifer really means. We're going to get into so much that it's going to not just blow your mind, but it's going to make you rethink a lot of things. And there's a good reason to do that because people today are so divided, and what's dividing them all is this lie. There's this insignificant, ridiculous little video that I'm going to do because really, in the grand scheme of things, what does it matter, right? What does it matter? It really, in the grand scheme of things, what does it matter? But yet, people will cast you down. They'll call you a witch, and they'll throw stones at you to kill you. And in other countries right now, they're blasphemy laws where they can put you to death for being blasphemous. People are going to say what I'm talking about is blasphemous, and yet I'm going right from the source, right from the scriptures, which I studied for like 2 decades. Like this is my thing, man. It's what my website is all about. Just because I talk about all the other stuff doesn't mean that I don't have a direction and a passion in life. And knowing the truth is what matters to me. And if you're buckled up and you're ready to find out who Lucifer and Satan really is and how they're different and how they're not the same, then you are in the right place. In Roman astronomy, Lucifer was the morning star, Venus, right? That's that planet that rises and it looks like a star in the sky, and but it's not really. It's not the real light. There's an interesting lesson in that. Okay, the Venus, the star that rises before the sun rises. Okay. That's Lucifer. That's from Roman astronomy. So why does everybody think that Lucifer's Satan? Why is it? Because that's what it was taught. A lot of religions took this thing and just made a whole thing out of it. So let's forget about the fact that Lucifer doesn't even exist in Scripture at all, okay? That it was added later. Okay, let's forget about that for a second. Let's take that entire chapter in Isaiah 14 in context, and let's see who really Isaiah was talking about. In verse 4 is what we would call context. You know, like you read something, you want to find out who you're reading about? Context. Listen to what it says in verse 4. Thou shalt take up a proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, and the golden city ceased? It has to do with this wicked ruler, the Babylonians. You know, Israel was in prison. They were in servitude. They were kicked out of their real homes, and they were having some trouble. And the king of Babylon was not too nice to them. But see, God is going to give Israel rest. He's going to give Jacob and all of them rest. And he's going to actually bless Israel and make their oppressors handmaids and everything else. That's who we're talking about. And God actually says in verse 14, verse 12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, right? King James, even though it's not there. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For you said in your heart, I will ascend up to heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mountain of congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. Yet, God says, you'll be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They shall see you, king of Babylon, and they shall now look upon you and say, is this not the man? Is this the man? You see, Lucifer was a man.
So why are you telling me? You're telling me that Lucifer's not Satan? I don't understand what you mean. Like he was the king of Babylon? Like he's just a man? Well, why everybody worship Lucifer then? Why you got the Luciferian faith and all that jazz?
Because it's a lie. Built from Satan, which is another character that then took this and twisted this and got everybody to believe something all you got to do is read it. All you got to do is read it. That's it. And you find out who Lucifer is. But there's a deeper message here. You see, the devil, Satan, is a spirit. Is not a literal man. Lucifer, quite literally, is a man. Now, there's an interesting parallel here to Lucifer and Adam, who was also a man who was in the garden, who was in union with God, and who said, I want to be like God. Right? That was the whole thing. That was the whole thing. That's why Eve ate of that tree of knowledge of good and evil. I want to be like God. I want to get out of union. I want to create my own version of reality. And so we are living in this world of duality now, ruled by that serpent, that great dragon, the one that tempted Jesus in the wilderness, in all points as we are tempted. You see, that's the thing. When we're tempted, in the book of James, it says, you're drawn away by your own lusts. Right? So your lusts are and what are the lusts again? The pride of, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life. That whole thing with the garden and the serpent that's smack dab in the middle within mankind. Satan doesn't appear to be a man at all. Actually, Satan is pretty much in temptation everywhere. When Jesus was speaking to Peter, he said, get thee behind me, Satan. You care only about the things of man. Lucifer. You get what I'm saying? You with me now? You with me? A lot of people say that Satan is this most beautiful thing who once knew the truth and was wonderful and everything else, but yet the scriptures say very different. They say he was a murderer and a liar from the beginning. Satan, from the beginning, deceived the whole world, had no truth in him. The word Satan literally means to oppose, adversary. The word devil literally means to slanderously accuse. Now, why are we linking the devil and Satan? You have two different words, right? You can link them together because in Revelation 12:9 it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. Satan is a liar, a deceiver. Now this is interesting because in the book of Job, Satan appeared with all the sons of God. Now, this is actually pretty interesting. In the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6, it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. That word came means to go within or to be within. That word among literally means interior. So when the sons of God presented themselves before God, right? Satan was already within them, inside of them. In other words, you already got the opposition within you. You already got the liar within you. You know, it's like the picture of Jesus when he was being tempted by Satan, okay? There wasn't a literal man outside of him tempting. It wasn't a literal snake whispering in his ear. What it was the same way we're tempted. That's what Scripture says. That in all points, Jesus was tempted as we are tempted. When you're tempted, you're drawn away by your own lust, which means, you know, you just get these negative thoughts and then you follow after them. You have to resist the devil and he'll flee from you. In other words, you got to resist all of these lies and all the imagination and all the things that we've been told that aren't true, that are always playing in our head. You got to resist that and it'll flee. So the next time that you get angry at somebody, instead of like hearing all of those thoughts that you think are your own, saying you should do this, you should say that, blah, blah, blah. If you resist that and you say, hang on a second, I need to love, because that's the only thing that's really true in the grand scheme of things is love. It's the only way out of here is love. It's the only way that you're going to be free is if you find the truth. Don't you think it's funny that a lot of people are going to be very upset that they're just going to look at the title of this video and they're going to say,
you're terrible, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a liar, you're a deceiver.
Because they were told something and then they made that a belief system and they built their whole life on this lie that Lucifer was some beautiful angel who was cast down, who was the leader of the choir, which, by the way, none of that's in the Bible. None of that. That's all like something that was just made up by religion to get you hooked and to get you focused on the wrong thing. This is why Jesus said to the religious leaders of their day, they said, you're of your father, the devil, the lie within them. That's what they were always accusing him. They're like,
oh, I'm going to unsub from you, Christ. You don't know what you're talking about, dude. How dare you say that Lucifer's not Satan?
Right? And he says, you're of your father, the devil, the lie, the liar in your head. You have built an entire idea of who you are based on a lie. That's the problem today. And this is the reason why everybody today is at odds with everybody today, because there's a war that's within them that's raging and they got to find the truth from the lie. Jesus said very clearly, he said, nothing that goes into the man defiles him. It's what comes out of them. So in other words, you can hear a bunch of nonsense, right? But you're not defiled until it takes root and you start projecting it out there on other people.
This is who Isaiah was talking about. King Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful in the world. So powerful that he wanted the world to worship him as God, and for that, he was punished and became as one of the beasts of the field. This is who Isaiah was speaking about. This is Lucifer.
And they shall speak and say to you, are you become weak as one of us? The worm spreads under you like unto us. Your pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of your vials. The worm is spread under thee and will cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, and the worms cover you? How art thou fallen? For you said in your heart that I will ascend up to heaven, I'll be like the Most High. Now look at you. Now look at you. You thought you were the best. You thought you were the boss with all your big fancy clothes, and you did all these horrible things, right? You did all this, and people are going to look at you and they're going to say, is this the man that did weaken the nations? Talking about the king of Babylon. Lucifer isn't even in the scriptures. It was added later, and yet, you got many faiths around the world that make this an entire doctrine out of nothing. Satan, a murderer from the beginning. And what would Satan kill? What would the father of all lies kill? Right? Think about this for a second. From the beginning, which is the same word, as I said, in Hebrew, as in the beginning God created. The lamb was slain at the foundation of the world which the devil created. You get what I'm saying? All that's in the world, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, that all comes out of the serpent. The one that said you can be like God too. And because people believe that, because people believe that they're somehow God themselves, you don't think that you think this, but you do. You've been tricked into thinking that you're God, that you know it all. That's why people will point the finger and condemn someone to death, because they think that they're God. They don't realize that they're following a lie, and that the truth of who they really were was put to death from the murderer in the beginning, who convinced you that you're something you're not. So in Isaiah, he was talking about the king of Babylon, but we can learn something about this because it is a picture of how mankind fell. Mankind who said, I can be like the Most High, and builds congregations and builds denominations and builds political arenas and tells people what is right and what is wrong and creates laws upon laws upon laws. And none of it helps anyone. No matter how hard you try to be the best person in the world, no matter how hard you try to fill every law and do everything perfectly, you will never find peace because it's built on a lie. If Satan is the father of all lies, then a devil and a demon would be a lie, because that's all Satan creates is lies. So if you're possessed by devils and demons, you're possessed by lies. You got it. Lucifer was possessed by lies. Remember Lucifer, once again, was added later. Latin word. The son of the morning, that Venus, that bright star. It wasn't the source of light. It was a reflection of light. Right? The idea of who you are is not the source of light. That light was put to death at the place of the skull in your thinking. I know this stuff is, I know this is pretty heavy. I know that this isn't for everybody, but I wanted to point this out because yes, there are people that worship Lucifer, and yes, they are worshiping the devil while doing it, but Lucifer is not the devil. They just believe that Lucifer is the devil, which is why some people are going to thumb this down just by looking at it, but a lot of people are going to give me that thumbs up because they understand every time that they give me a thumbs up and every time they give me a nice comment and they do something nice like sharing it around or telling people about it, that it helps. It helps me to do more videos like this. And if you like videos like this, tell me about it. And if you don't, tell me about it too. I know you're going to anyway, right? And I don't care because I love you all. And I'm so grateful that you're here. And I hope that this show helped you a little bit in the grand scheme of things, because it's important to have the truth. That's why we need to seek it. That's why we need to seek it. Don't just believe what you're told. Just because people say that this is this doesn't mean that that's that. Why don't you read the chapter? It's Isaiah chapter 14. That's all you got to do. You want to find out? You want to find out the big mystery? That's all it is. And I did this show not because it was so important for all of you, because people believe things without even searching out to see if they're true to begin with. And that's scary. We need to just question what we've been told. If it doesn't line up with love, it's not the truth. Love is the litmus test, people. And I love each and every one of you, and I want to thank you again. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.